Today's Leading Women episode 373 with the wonderful Cheryl Hunter.
Women all over the world, get ready for inspiring and empowering interviews from women at the top of their field who are kicking butt in their business and who are prepared to share shocking revelations from being in the limelight. You are now listening to Today's Leading Women with Marie Grace Berg.
Podcast your passion. Yes, did you know you can podcast your passion, make a difference, and make money talking about what you love talking about? That's how I get to do what I'm doing, talking to wonderful women every day here at Today's Leading Women. Want to learn how I did it? Go to podcastyourpassion.com. That's www.podcastyourpassion.com. Yes, women of the world, let's get started. I am delighted to introduce you our amazing guest for today, Cheryl Hunter. Cheryl Hunter is a best-selling author and resilience expert who was abducted as a teenager. She speaks to audiences worldwide to help people understand how to navigate challenges and fulfill their highest potential, no matter what circumstances they are faced with. She is a regular contributor to Nancy Grace, Forbes magazine, Huffington Post, Fast Company, U.S. News and World Report, and her highly regarded TED Talks have made great impact. Women of the world, Miss Cheryl Hunter. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marie Grace. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
I am delighted to have you on the show, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. So, Cheryl, I really love what you're doing with your business. You are a success in your own right. You put in the effort, the sweat equity, the knowledge and experience to build this special business you call your own. As a result of that, our listeners really want to get to know you, and I want to provide that conduit, that bridge between you and our listeners. So here are some cool questions that we can talk about. Feel free to comment anytime about them, but these are just general questions I have in mind. So let's start with your business. There might be people out there who want to start one and have no clue how to go about it. Can you tell us more about your business and the idea behind the niche, as well as what continues to inspire you doing this business?
Absolutely. Thank you. I think each of us goes on a kind of circuitous path sometimes in life. We start out in one direction, but maybe sometimes end up in a quite different place than where we started out. And that's how my entrepreneurial journey began. And I think as I speak to more and more entrepreneurs, so many of them found their path led in a similar way, that they started out one place and followed their passion or their heart or the things that occurred to them, the circumstances that they faced over the course of their life. And rather than being taken out by those circumstances, they emerged better on the other side. I'm no different. I saw, one of the things I'd witnessed throughout my life is that there seemed to be this disconnect with people. What I mean is, people, we're well-intended people. We have good hearts. I believe in giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. We all want what's best for ourselves and those around us. And yet there seems to be nothing more common than somebody who wants one thing and has a different result. Like they can't seem to accomplish it. Or they are committed to doing something, and yet they find themselves somehow taking a different action, and they're confused or frustrated or flummoxed by it. I mean, you only have to look at New Year's resolutions. I mean, just to see that. Somebody says, okay, I'm going to go on a diet this year. And suddenly, the next morning, they wake up and find this compulsion like they've never had before to eat cheesecake, an entire cheesecake, and push the snooze button and never get up on time and never go to work out. And it's like the day before they didn't have that feeling. And it's almost as though the human condition is one that has us be trapped or stuck in some way. And I thought, wait, I know a little something about being trapped or stuck or captive. as you'd said early on, I was abducted when I was a teenager. I was traveling overseas and two criminals grabbed me, said they could make me a model, and held me captive. And by the time they left me for dead, something interesting happened, which was, on the other side of it, I started to feel like I wanted certain things for my life. I didn't tell anybody what happened. As a teenager, I decided that it meant that I was ruined and damaged and disgusting and all these things. I was a teenager when it happened. And I thought if I told anybody, they'd know. So the best way to cope was just to keep it a secret, but from everybody, my family, my friends, everybody. And I went on trying to live my life. And I thought, well, I'd love to do whatever it was. I'd love to go on to a successful career and relationship, but I found myself angry and stuck and stopped. And at one point I thought, you know what? I in order to transcend this, I've got to turn my own life around. And I could see that I wasn't the only person that was captive in this world. And the irony was, I felt more captive after the men left, than I did before. And I thought, well, if I'm still captive and my captors are gone, then I must be the one holding myself captive, which is when I started studying that notion of captivity and being trapped and creating a fail-safe way to get through and get to the other side that people can use in any context. Today, in my business, I have a coaching and consulting company, and mostly we go into corporations and help them turn around their results. But we help individuals turn around their results. It's really about getting unstuck, getting out of your way, and being able to fulfill on the vision and mission that you have for your own life or business, whatever it is. But it's interesting, if I had just tried to avoid what happened, I don't think I would have ever ended up, certainly not with this entrepreneurial journey. So what I want to offer to each of you listening today is there are things that occur, circumstances that we face, each of us, and maybe that's something you can contribute to people. You've spent this lifetime amassing skills and expertise, this unique expertise that's your own, and people want that. They want what you have to say and what you uniquely specialize in. So at least that's what I've found myself and my clients that we're, that's, if we can give away that which we've mastered, it can really make a difference. And, you can make a career out of it as well.
Wow, what a beautiful story. If I would have had that experience, of course, I would be captive the rest of my life. I would think that I would be captive for the rest of my life. But the thing is, when you have that experience, you saw a possibility. You realize that you need to come out from it, from this self-captivity that you have in yourself, from this being unstuck, and turn your life around afterwards from these experiences, from this unique experience that you've had. And that inspires me, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are inspired by that, because there are a lot of things that makes us unstuck, make us feel like we are captive of our own self-limiting beliefs, for example, self-limiting experiences, for example. That is all, that we need to overcome. But when we are hearing this story, like your story, that inspires us that, okay, this is just an experience that I can choose to learn from it and turn it around as an inspiration to turn my life around. So it's a great story. I'm really inspired by that you shared one with us, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that one, can relate to that experience, not being physically abducted per se, but from other experiences that we have in our life that binds or that held us captive in ourselves.
Yes, I think it's a very common phenomenon. But again, I came to that by turning around a negative circumstance. And you hear of people who've invented products or brands, a mother who struggled with a better way to hold her child invented one of those great ways to carry them across your body. You hear of things like this. Somebody who invented a better seatbelt was struggling with their own when they were, and you hear about that kind of thing. So I wanted to take what had happened that seemed negative and find a way to really extract the best from it. It happened, so let's, it may sound trite, but let's turn the lemons into lemonade, for Pete's sake. There's no unwinding the time or unringing a bell or going backward. Let's just have it matter now. So that kind of thing, I think, can lead a lot of people on an entrepreneurial journey, facing some circumstance that they didn't know how to face.
Yes, totally agree with you. Now, let's talk about what happened when you started this journey as an entrepreneur. Can you share with our listeners what are some of your personality traits or your top 3 personal qualities that help you become a successful entrepreneur that our listeners can learn from?
Well, I've developed an educational model, this method that I teach that helps people turn around their results. And I realized that first I was going to have to be willing to do it on myself. And then the rest of our team, it was different coaches and consultants came on and all the team members. It was going to have to start with a willingness to do the work. Like, we can't expect anyone else to do it if we're not willing. So I think willingness, as part of our culture here, has got to be at the top. Next, there is resilience. Again, we teach resilience. So there's something about being able to bounce back from what seems difficult or the day-to-day challenges that we face in business and just go, all right, fine, dust yourself off, get up and go, And to that end, the final quality or trait that I'd like to say is just a very dogged sense of determination. I think each one of us can reach down deep and find that which inspires us to keep going, and tapping into that determination is necessary because we don't always see the reward right away. It looks like just an uphill climb. Sometimes it looks like, the myth of Sisyphus, that was this ancient character that would push a big boulder up the hill and only have it roll down at the end of the day, every day. It sometimes feels like the journey of being an entrepreneur is that. So I think determination really helps. And for me, what I use to motivate myself is, call me crazy, but one of the things I realized after being abducted, when my life started going downward, I thought, I'm not going to let these men that took me, I'm not going to let them win. I'm going to win. I am determined to prove everything that they did wrong and prove all the thoughts I had wrong. I am determined to succeed because I will prove that wrong. And so just having that sense of determination, and each of us can, like I said, reach down in and find something like that keeps us going. But when it looks difficult and the odds seem against us, I think finding some deep down determination is really helpful.
Yeah, so that's willingness to do the work, resilience, and determination. Great personal qualities or traits that Cheryl just shared with us. And the good news is that we can all cultivate and adapt these traits, willingness to do the work, resilience, and determination in our lives or in our business building activities. Now, I'd love for you to talk about what happened when you started your journey as an entrepreneur. As entrepreneurs, we face daily challenges that define our being. And to get through those challenges takes a very special person. And our audience wants to know that special person in you. So what have been your biggest challenges building your business? And how have you addressed or overcame those barriers to success that a lot of women entrepreneurs face today?
I'm going to sort of phrase all the challenges down to one. I think there was an internal challenge that I had to face. there's a lot said these days about storytelling in the workplace and the difference that it makes to be authentic and transparent. And, I wholeheartedly believe in that. And for a long time, I believed in that for other people, but not for myself. And what I mean by that is like I said, as a teenager, I decided I was never going to tell anybody that these men took me and held me. I just wasn't going to say that. And even though I'd gone into the business of professional development and personal development, I started doing both, leading courses and programs and coaching. And I was doing it as a contractor. At some point, it hit me that even though that was my own journey, was the impetus, the fuel to the fire that had me do what I did, if I still kept it a secret, why I did what I did, professionally speaking, why I wanted to contribute so much to people, why I was so driven by that desire. And if I kept it a secret, like if I told people it's possible to turn around your circumstances and no matter what happens, but I never shared my own story, I realized I was doing a disservice. I was cheating people. And I never had wanted to share any of that stuff because at some level I was almost like held captive myself still. Like I was still like almost being a teenager in that regard, so to speak. And so the biggest challenge I initially had to face was the courage to be open and to share my authentic self by sharing my story. And the moment that I did, the moment I was willing to really connect with people and be authentic, things changed dramatically. But I think, I'm not saying you can all map this on necessarily exactly, but what part you can map on is that I think sometimes that our initial biggest challenge is something that's internal. And if you're willing to do that work and dig deep, you can move through whatever that challenge is, and it can give you the wherewithal to handle then subsequent challenges like with a grain of salt. Like, challenges arise. That's life. That's a powerful relationship to have to challenges. Okay, they occur. But if you're willing to conquer those demons within first, I think it sets you up to handle whatever else comes in a very competent, confident way.
Wow, I was so hooked into listening to every word that you just shared because I can totally relate to what you just shared, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that. I mean, overcoming that internal resistance within us to share what's our truth, to share our story, to share our authentic self. And yes, I agree with it. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to be open, to put yourself out there and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, like what they said. So the goodest thing is that when we are sharing these challenges that we have experienced, we learn from how we're able to overcome them so that when it happens to us, we know how to deal with it. It's a great lesson in there. Great that you shared that one with us. And on that note, I'd love for you to share our listeners, what are some of your ways on how to deal with the work-life balance, because this is one of the areas that a lot of our listeners struggle with, and I myself struggle with on a daily basis. So I'd love for you to talk about work-life balance and how do you maintain this in the areas of your health, your family, your relationships, and your business.
So I'm going to share with you some of the work that we do in order to answer that question. There is a draw, there is an allure, there is, actually biologically, as we're driven to keep things the same. So it's oftentimes hard to change what we do by default. And by default, I think that there's a lot of imbalance there. It will not have that balance. If we just kind of go by the seat of our pants, we find ourselves imbalanced. And that's why this question is such a common one. So one of the things we say in our work at the 100 Group is if you want to cause any change and really consider that having work-life balance is a change. If you want to cause any change, you need to have some kind of structure that's bigger than that draw, that compulsion, that pull toward the ordinary default way of being. Now, what do I mean by that? So I mean, for one thing, don't just make a promise to yourself like, oh, I'm going to work out every day. Because then workout time comes and you're like, heck no, I got far too much stuff on my desk, or the kids need me, or that needs to happen. In other words, don't just make your promise to yourself, have some kind of structure. So a structure could look like an accountability partner, a group, like a mastermind group, a committed listener of some kind, a coach, a mentor, something like that, so that your promises don't only exist in your own head or in your own calendar. So, an accountability partner might be somebody that you make promises, they make promises. You're both maybe on a same journey together, like another entrepreneur. You might find a group of people who are aspiring entrepreneurs and put them into a mastermind together. Make weekly promises to them, or whatever your structure is. What else did I say? A committed listener is somebody who's not necessarily playing that game, but you make promises to them. And then they'll just listen to you say what you did and didn't do. A coach is somebody who holds you to account as well as you make promises. And then we all are familiar with mentors. The point is just get it out of your own head, because I think that the struggle is by just keeping our promises silent or to ourselves, and to fulfill them and cause any lasting change. You want some kind of structure for success.
Wow, I totally agree with you. It's all about putting a structure in your day. Putting things on, for example, on schedule. Structuring it that, for example, you know exactly what you're going to be doing. And it helps when you have an accountability partner or a coach or a mentor that holds you accountable, because we need that little push. Sometimes it's just that push that would help us to do what we tell ourselves that we're going to do. And yes, I agree with you. There are days, especially in terms of the health part, the fitness part, the working out, the exercise, the times that we spend there, we feel like, oh, I have more other things that's more important. But actually, if you make working out or exercise as one of the important tasks that we need to do for that day, we can do it. So it's all about structuring your day so that you know that you're going to be able to complete or accomplish those things or those tasks that you said you're going to do for that day. Great tips there, because I know this is one area that a lot of us are challenged with. So great takeaway. There are great tips that we can apply in our lives. So thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. One more thing, if I may. Mm-hmm. As women, we're designed, if you will, biologically speaking, to be the nurturers, the caretakers. We take care of children, we take care of each other, we take care of the elderly. But that's just, back since the caveman days. That's one of the things that women did. And now we're becoming, political leaders and entrepreneurs and business leaders and CEOs and successful in many different areas, pro athletes, and, just the sky's the limit. But we still have that propensity to be caregivers. And how that shows up in terms of the work-life balance question is we oftentimes forego our own commitments to ourselves in order to fulfill something for another. So I think it's helpful to be vigilant, even if you have to tell yourself, wait, I can't, and my mother used to always say this, I can't pour from an empty cup. If I want to be of service to my family, to my team, to my loved ones, I've got to first, like you said, work out, eat well, take care of myself, make sure I sleep well, fulfill all those needs that fill those buckets so that we can give to another. We can be there and provide those things for other people. But we've got to start with the shift of recognizing that our needs are as essential, particularly if we are someone who's taking care of others. And that's where those structures like a mentor, an accountability partner, a coach, a mastermind group can be really helpful for putting those things in. So thanks for letting me add that extra bit there.
Yes, well said. It's really important to really reiterate that self-care part. I mean, we're not just about taking care of others, but ourselves as well. We cannot just put ourselves last. We have to put ourselves first, because like what Cheryl just shared with us, we can't take care of others if we're not able to take care of ourselves. Great point there. Now, I'd love for you to talk about one of the highlights of our show, and that's your advice for other entrepreneurs and those aspiring to be, especially to those who want to follow your footsteps. You obviously got some lessons learned under your belt of experience, so take it back to the past. Say you're going to start all over again as an entrepreneur, and you are in a class with other entrepreneurs who are hungry and thirsty for success, or even for making that first buck. What types of special suggestions or advice and lessons that you learned would you give your fellow entrepreneurs, knowing where you came from and where you headed at? And if you can boil them down to your top 3 tips or advice, what would those 3 be?
Absolutely. Here's the first one. Trust yourself. Now that may seem simple, but really, like, just take a moment as you're listening. And if you're not driving, just close your eyes for a moment. If you are driving, just take a moment to imagine. I really assert that each one of us in our gut knows what's right. We know the right decisions to make. We really, even if it's a difficult decision or choice or venture, if we take a moment in silence to focus, we really know what's right for us. You know, we can listen to all the advice from people who have been there, have traversed the road, who've done all that, but really just trust yourself. Next, set yourself up to win. You know, sometimes it's difficult, potentially, you know, starting a new venture of whatever kind. And sometimes people want to say, oh, I'm going to quit my job and do this. And sometimes it's necessary to have a bridge there. I'm going to stay at work while doing this amount every day. I'm going to take 3 hours a day, and once the kids go to sleep, and I'm going to invest that time into my business. I'm going to invest that time. On weekends, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, go to certain courses or put in time, research, etc. You know, set yourself up to win. You know what you need to get yourself to that other side where you can, you know, be a viable business if you're going to do that. Again, trust yourself even there, but set yourself up to win. Don't necessarily go whole hog immediately. Make sure you can sustain over time until you get your feet underneath you. And then finally, create a team. Don't go it alone. And that again takes me back to have a mentor, have a mastermind group, put those together, get an accountability partner, a committed listener, a coach, someone, so you're not going in this alone. Find friends and family members who love what you do and what you offer, and see how they can contribute. Everybody loves to contribute. See what they might do, you know, how they might help you get something off the ground. They might love the opportunity. Create a team.
Wow, golden nuggets in what you just shared. So let me just summarize them again for our listeners. So the first one is to trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in your idea. Believe in your passion, and believe that you can do this. And then second one is to set yourself up to win. Be prepared for and be in this business for the long haul. Yeah, I agree with what you said about being, especially financially, being really prepared financially, jumping into the business, incur a lot of expenses but you have to be prepared for it. Don't just go into the business without being prepared, both emotionally, physically, and financially. Take into account in that one. And then, of course, the third one is to create a team. Know that you don't have to build this business alone. Hire a mentor, hire a coach, be in a mastermind group with people that are moving in the same direction as you, so that you don't feel like you're alone. Great tips there that we can all take action in today. So thanks for sharing those. Last but not the least, I'd love for you to share our listeners what's one big benefit that they can get with your product or your service, where they can get it, and what's the best way that our listeners can connect with you. And then we'll end from there.
Okay, great. So the biggest benefit that you can get with the work that we do is the ability to line up your goals, your commitments, your dreams, your vision with the actual results that you have in life. So that there's no longer two divergent paths. One, what you want, and two, what you have. What you get in what we offer as a service and in our books and in our courses is the ability to line those up. So the way to find out about what we do, what I do, what we do at the Hunter Group, which is my coaching company, is I have a website which is CherylHunter.com, and my name is spelled Cheryl Hunter. And there I've got a ton of free resources there. I've got seriously like 100 videos that you can watch that offer all different kinds of tips and tools and techniques that are designed to make a difference for you in your work, in your life. And so that's at CherylHunter.com. And then the specific coaching business is thehuntergroup.biz. B-I-Z. And at the Hunter Group Biz, there's some downloadable, we talk about, you can read all about the specific coaching programs that we offer, as well as there's some downloadable books there that are free as well. My book, Use It, Turn Setbacks into Success, is a bestseller. It's available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And you can even get a Kindle, the downloadable version instantly on Amazon. And it gives a step-by-step method in turning around difficult circumstances. It's called Turn Setbacks into Success, and it can be a real roadmap for doing just that.
All right, so that's CherylHunter.com, and the coaching website is thehuntergroup.biz. I'm going to make sure to have this on our show notes. So for our listeners out there, I highly encourage you to go there now. At least sign up for their newsletter so you can be updated on what she's putting out there. And if their products and services resonate with you, I highly encourage you to jump in and make sure to pick up her book, Use It. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Again, that link is CherylHunter.com and www.thehuntergroup.biz. And by the way, for our listeners out there, all of these resources and the links that are mentioned in today's podcast will be made available in a beautiful infographic show notes at todaysleadingwomen.com/Cheryl Hunter, or just type in her name on the search bar and it will find it for you. Again, those links are www.CherylHunter.com and www.thehuntergroup.biz. Cheryl, thank you so much for being so generous in sharing your time, your inspiring story, your expertise, for being a role model to many, and for bringing such a positive energy with our listeners today. Women of the world, including me, appreciate you and wish you more success in business and in your life.
Such a joy to be here. Thank you for sharing your time.
All right, TLW listeners, did you love this episode? Here's your chance to recommend or vote for your favorite Today's Leading Woman. Here's how to do it. Step number 1. After you listen to this episode, go to todaysleadingwomen.com/my-iTunes. Step number 2. Click the rate and review button. Step number 3. Say that you love listening to Today's Leading Women podcast. Step number 4. Type in the name of your favorite Today's Leading Woman. Example, Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook, Arianna Huffington of Huffington Post, Oprah of Oprah Winfrey Network. You get it, right? Step number 5. Type your first name and where you are listening from. Every day, I will personally go through all of your ratings and reviews and scour the names of your favorite Today's Leading Women. You will get to be featured as TLW Fan of the Day with your name and where you're listening from. And you'll be the first one to get notified when your favorite Today's Leading Woman is featured on the show. Fair enough? Awesome. Go to todaysleadingwomen.com/my-iTunes. That's www.todaysleadingwomen.com/my-iTunes.
Feeling inspired and empowered to make it happen? Then take the next step and go get your free guide to the top 10 resources that today's leading women use to stay at the top of their game, plus Marie's favorite today. Visit todaysleadingwomen.com/guide for your free download, and we'll see you on the next episode of Today's Leading Women with Marie Grace Berg.